Hi everyone, Ed Amorosa here from Tag Cyber, and I'm sitting with my friend Patrick Harding, who is the CTO of Ping Identity. Patrick, welcome.
Thank you very much for having me.
Thanks for coming to visit.
I appreciate it.
Yeah, steamy day here in New York City, right?
Yeah, love-hate relationship with New York.
Spoken like a true Bostoner.
Yes, exactly.
A little bit nicer up there.
Yeah, just a bit.
Yeah. Hey, tell us a little bit about yourself.
Sure. So I'm the CTO of Ping. Been at Ping now for 12 years. Prior to that, comp sci major originally, developer. Ended up at a company called Fidelity Investments for a while, where I first got involved in security. Built out the first sort of firewall architecture there back in the late 90s on Fidelity.com.
Wow.
Ended up in consulting for a while, then back at Fidelity. And I remember a guy who was the enterprise architect there, probably in about 2001, said, "Patrick, why don't you go dig into identity, see what you find?" And I've been digging in ever since. So that's sort of how long I've been doing this for. So Ping's been great ride. I started there when we sort of had no customers and no revenue, and somewhat of a product. And 12 years later, we've sort of grown up a little bit. Ping's now about sort of 600 employees, about 1,500 customers, multiple products. Obviously heavily into identity and access management now. Broadened our portfolio since we started in single sign-on. So it's been an exciting ride.
Early 2000s probably the perfect time to ride the identity and access management wave, right? Because I'll bet you're using Firewall 1 or something, right?
Actually, no. Fidelity didn't. We were using open source, like Internet Packet Filter or Firewall Toolkit.
Cool.
Oh yeah.
That from TIS.
Yes,
I had that. I used that
yes,
toolkit.
Yes,
that was cool.
It was hardcore.
But after you get that working, the next step was identity and access. So you probably got right at the ground level. Right?
So it was interesting. The opportunity was there because literally I was living the problem of continuing to poke holes in the firewall, and thinking there's got to be a better way than just continuing to poke holes. And let's level up and look at the next level of what's going on, which is really more around sort of who is accessing and using these resources and applications. Can we put some controls around that? But I actually got involved on the standards side, actually, on the Liberty Alliance, which was essentially the Sun-sponsored alternative to Microsoft Passport, if you know your history. And sort of Liberty ended up creating a lot of the technology that became the underpinnings of SAML 2.0. And it was SAML that really opened up the ability for organizations to securely sort of interact with sort of their business partners, but also cloud and SaaS applications, and sort of to enable single sign-on that way. And that's where Ping got its start back in the day.
Is that what brought you to Ping, or were you doing that once you got to Ping?
No, that's what I was doing. I was actually doing that through Fidelity, and met the sort of CEO and founder of Ping, Andre Durand, through that. He had some other interesting ideas about the business model for Ping at the time. Fortunately, we turned it into sort of more of a federation opportunity. And sort of our initial product was Ping Federate, which is still going strong, but really it's been helping lots of organizations solve those problems.
In those early days, was it mostly IT teams that you were dealing with?
Yeah, very well. It was often IT teams.
Security
absolutely.
teams had no clue, right?
No, they hadn't. The identity access management capabilities inside organizations was either tied back to who was running Active Directory and responsible for that, or who might have been responsible for a web access management product they put in place internally. But rarely was that falling under the security team at the time, or the CISO, or anything like that. It was definitely more on the sort of the IT side in those situations.
Has SaaS really changed the game now? Like since kind of 07, 08?
Absolutely,
there really is the dominant architectural influence.
Yes.
And IAM, is that a true statement?
That was true then, absolutely. I think everybody at that time was thinking they were outsourcing certain business applications to SaaS as much as possible. They needed to integrate those SaaS applications into their existing IAM infrastructure, and federation was the right way to do that.
Is mobility just a bigger force? You think that will have just as much influence, say, in the next few years or so?
Yes. So it's interesting. A customer I was talking to recently coined, sort of used as an example that they want to get to something called sort of zero trust. Okay, and it's one of those high level terms that a lot of people have their own terminology for, but implicit in that is the notion that the internet's become the network, the cloud has become the data center, and identity is the new perimeter, essentially. So the goal of that for them is to allow what I've called coffee shop IT, literally the ability for a worker to be sitting at Starbucks with a device that they sort of have. It could be personal, it could be corporate, and they should be able to get the work done they normally get done as easily and seamlessly as if they were sitting at their desk in their office.
Do you ever see intelligence taking over and really making a determination about, yes, Patrick can touch this application because I've looked contextually at what's going on, and I'm machine learning, and I proclaim that it looks like this is safe. Are we headed for that?
That's really good. That gets to how do you trust the machines?
AI is about making decisions, right?
Yes. So I think the technology will allow that eventually, and the technology will likely, probably in 5 years' time or so, actually be able to make better decisions faster than a human could, even if the human was given an alert and asked to basically do something and look at something. The question becomes, at what point do you let the machine react?
It's exciting to see a technology like identity and access management, which we would both acknowledge had humble roots in IT.
Yes.
Maybe even the word mundane might have been used 15 years ago.
Mm-hmm.
And now we're talking about using AI to make kind of cool decisions. That's a nice journey.
So it's incredible to me. So just something as simple as what we think of as multi-factor authentication. And I came out of the financial services space. You came out of telco, where it was fairly well understood why that was important. Even today, it's not predominant on customer-facing applications, things like that. I would say we could do a lot more.
Absolutely not.
No.
Sure.
So I'm very happily seeing now, companies that we're working with, for example, building consumer electronic equipment. All right, that they sell into the home and they install in the basement, that becomes your router and stuff like that. And that these organizations, as those devices get smart and sort of become sort of IoT enabled, and that these organizations now building out customer portals so that their users, their customers, can basically log in to access and control and manage those devices. These companies are putting optional two-factor authentication, multi-factor authentication on their customer portals. And this is something that was the domain of Fiserv 10 years ago, and now it's becoming very, very well understood why this is important. And they want to make sure that the user experience is solid as well. So they're pushing to make it optional. Which type of MFA a consumer would like to use. Is it a push notification to my phone? Is it a SMS? Whatever it might be. So it's exciting.
One of my favorite questions to ask guests as kind of a closing thought is whether you're an optimist about cyber or a pessimist about attacks. Which do you think is going to win? The offense, the defense? Are we going to close the gap? Do you see storm clouds on the horizon?
So I've been an optimist in that regard for a long, long time. So for example, I've always been frustrated by the notion that people's passwords needed to be 35,000 characters long with 1,500 different types of characters, no repeating.
Never a good idea, right?
No, because it was completely irrelevant.
Right.
All right, as long as you basically blocked anybody who trying to get in who got their password wrong 3 times in a row, you were preventing most attacks. And really, it boiled down to if somebody could access the database. If somebody was accessing the database, a lot worse things are going on than that.
True.
So to me, it's I don't know. I'm an optimist in that regard. I am one who would prefer to open things up, not lock things down as much as possible.
Seems like you're still enjoying yourself.
Oh, absolutely. Yeah.
Well,
it's exciting times.
Hope you keep doing what you're doing.
Identity is the gift that keeps on giving.
We all benefit.
Changing.
We all benefit from your work.
Right. Appreciate it.
I appreciate you stopping by to say hello.
Thank you.
Next time you're in, we'll talk some more.
Absolutely.
Thank you, Patrick.
Cheers, mate. Thanks.
And we'll see you next time.